In today's video, we are going to create an amazing poster design for Heinz tomato ketchup. Grab your mouse as we dive in. First things first, we are going to create a new document. Choose a solid color. We are going to create another solid color. With the layer in place, we are going to select the mask. With the mask selected, grab a soft hand brush. Opacity is set to 100. Hardness is set to 0. Foreground is set to black. And we are just going to make a few clicks right here. Create a new layer. Grab a soft hand brush. Foreground is set to white. Opacity is set to 100. And we are going to click once. With the layer in place, we are going to set the blend mode to overlay and reduce the opacity. We are going to create an exposure adjustment layer. With the mask selected, with the soft hand brush, we are going to reduce opacity. Foreground is set to black and we are just going to brush this portion to erase. Now let's grab our asset for this tutorial. Holding down the shift key, we are going to select these 3 layers and copy all of them together. Ctrl+C to copy, Ctrl+V to paste. We zoom in and we are just going to position and arrange them properly. Holding down the shift key, with the 3 layers selected, Ctrl+G to make a group. Ctrl+T to transform. We are just going to position and adjust it right over here. Now let's grab the rest of the item. We are going to copy this. Once that is in place, we are going to drop the layer right here. With the layer in place, we are going to grab the polygonal lasso tool. Then we are just going to create a selection this way. Once we have a selection, with the layer selected, we are going to create a mask. We grab this item. With this layer selected, we are going to press Ctrl+J to make a copy. Ctrl+T to transform. With the layer selected, we are going to create a mask. With the mask selected, we grab the polygonal lasso tool, create a selection right about here, and we are going to delete that. So we set foreground to black. We right click and we are going to fill it with the foreground color black. Ctrl+D to deselect. Now we are going to grab this texture, Ctrl C to copy, Ctrl V to paste. We are going to drop the layer right here. Set blend mode to overlay and set opacity to 1.7. Now we are going to create a curves adjustment layer right above all layers. Reduce the opacity. With the group selected, we are going to apply drop shadow. So we go for blending options. We choose drop shadow. Opacity is 100. We set our angle, our distance, spread and size, and we hit OK. Once that is in place, we are going to close it up right here, right click and create layer. So we are separating the shadow onto a new layer. We have the shadow right here. With the layer selected, we are going to right click and convert that into a smart object. Then we are going to apply Gaussian motion blur. We set our angle and distance and we hit OK. With the layer still selected, we are going to create a mask. With the mask selected, we grab a soft time brush, increase opacity, foreground is set to black, and we are just going to erase. So we are just going to mask out all this portion right here. Right over here, we create a new layer. We are just going to paint some shadows. Reduce opacity. And do that, foreground should be black. Then we are just going to paint some shadows and reduce the opacity. We are just going to paint some shadows here and there. So with this layer selected, we are going to create an exposure adjustment layer clipped onto the layer. With the mask selected, Ctrl I to invert. With a soft time brush, increase opacity a bit. Right click and increase the size of the brush. Foreground is set to white. And we are just going to paint some shadows. We are going to create another exposure adjustment layer clipped onto the layer. With the mask selected, Ctrl I to invert. With the soft time brush, foreground is set to white. We are going to paint some shadows. We are going to create another exposure adjustment layer. This is for highlights. With the mask selected, Ctrl I to invert. With a soft time brush, increase opacity, foreground is set to white, and we are going to paint some. Reduce the opacity. With this layer selected, we are going to apply the same technique. So we are going to create an exposure adjustment layer. Invert the mask by pressing Ctrl I. With a soft time brush, we are going to paint shadows or highlights. With this layer selected, we are going to create an exposure adjustment layer. Increase opacity with a soft time brush. Foreground is set to white and we are going to paint some shadows. A sub to the channel will actually be amazing. With this layer selected, we are going to paint some shadows. So we are going to create an exposure adjustment layer clipped onto the layer. With the mask selected, Ctrl I to invert. With the soft brush, foreground is set to white and we are just going to paint some shadows. We are going to paint more shadows. This is basically the same technique. You create an exposure adjustment layer. With the mask selected, you are going to invert the mask by pressing Ctrl I. With a soft brush, you paint shadows or highlights. Once we have everything in place, we are going to press Ctrl Alt Shift E to merge all layers. Right click and convert that into a smart object. Then we go for camera raw. So filter, camera raw, filter. All we are going to do is we are going to play with the settings until we like the outcome. Once that is looking good, then we hit OK. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I do hope to see you in the next one. Till next time, stay creative.